Animation is one of the modern cornerstones of life. That is to say, it is pretty much everywhere. The biggest studios out there are all household names: DreamWorks, Illuminations, and Disney, the latter of which essentially owns half the globe at this point. But it's not just major companies and corporations, it can also be seen on a local scale. BTVN is a great example. Many of their intros and segments of their pieces include animated sections. Animation is such a huge deal and a common art, it would only make sense that it was part of the general principles of life. Of course, many people will point to the acronym STEAM, which I hope we all know means science, technology, engineering, art, and math, and argue that animation obviously falls under the umbrella of art. And while that isn't incorrect, I would like to argue that while it may not be a perfect fit, it satisfies many requirements to be better involved in the acronym STEM. Just STEAM without the A. I really hope we get that part. Before I start explaining some of the more intricate details of animation, I would like to preface I have had no animation experience beyond those like Flipperama, Cabin in the Underpants books. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Anyways, just be aware that most of what I'm saying is based on sources and our expert. To start off with, I would like to analyze animation against each principal part of STEM. A very basic link can be found between modern animation and science and technology. Most modern animation is not hand-drawn, rather completed on digital programs and physics engines, thus incorporating both science and technology. Engineering is when things get a little more interesting. Many engineers are involved with the creation of animation softwares due to the fact that these softwares require complex knowledge of machinery, code, and physics to replicate these aspects of reality fluidly into animation. Math also has an interesting way of fitting into the equation, no pun intended. A very solid base understanding of geometry is of course required when recreating objects for artists to use, and trigonometry is also used in this space when it comes to calculating character movements, facial motions, and for models to traverse a 3D space. I know many of you have likely realized that almost all of what I'm talking about references 3D animation. And while that is true to some degree, many of the programs referenced also use this tech for models to be animated in 2D animation. 3D animation is such a discussed topic here because for it to be executed properly, it requires intimate knowledge of STEM and involves different axes, the Y and the Z, which are unused in 2D animation. I imagine many of you are thinking that this is all a little overwhelming and very situational. Animation is not exactly interconnected throughout a ton of other things. But that's when alternative uses come in. You see, due to the complex nature of these engines which 2D and more accurately 3D animation run on, they can have multiple purposes to aid a plethora of issues. I will provide a few examples here. In video games, these engines allow for better graphics and a more enjoyable experience. With 3D printers being able to create 3D models in a virtual space and then print them, thus reducing costs and manual labor. Similar to gaming, in virtual reality it allows for virtual spaces to be created, which can serve near infinite purposes: entertainment, expression, education, socializing, and the list goes on. However, I think the most important to come out of this list is the ability to change the way that the industries of the world approach training. Giving employees a risk-free space to train for a job in a rather realistic environment is a revolutionary approach when it comes to training, and we can already see some businesses take advantage of this. For example, Audi has begun using virtual simulations to train their employees. However, I think the field this will have the greatest and most positive impact on is the medical field. An environment without the need for patients to volunteer with new doctors in training. A space where a mistake could hold gravity in a self-contained way, but not cause damage or harm to those in the real world. It would revolutionize the field and make it more accessible. I think it's finally time to hear a better and clearer explanation from a true expert. Introducing to the stage, Abby Fitzgerald. Abby has been working in the industry for over 2 years now, having been hired a month after graduation at Icon Creative Canada. She is now working on big projects like the new series Monsters at Work for Disney and Ariel for Disney Junior. I think you all have heard enough talking from me for now. Here's a succinct explanation of the animation process in her own words.
So, in a more general sense, animation is the artistic study of movement and acting. I think those are the two main things. It's essentially acting by a proxy.
Getting the opportunity to speak with someone who knew so much about the inner workings of the industry and the animation process as a whole was really insightful. Abby is the main reason why most of my software clips are from Autodesk Maya, since when we asked about the software she utilizes, she said,
Yeah, the main one that is used in the industry is Autodesk Maya. It's kind of the default for people to use. I used it all through school, so I prefer it.
the last part I want to note before I wrap things up is to allow you all the chance to hear what the differences in 2D and 3D animation mean to a professional.
Um, Traditional, I think there is something to be desired, or no, there's something that is missed when you do CG. That is just this level of impressiveness almost because everything is drawn. Like there's a reason those films take so long and they kind of got, shifted out of the industry, which is sad to see, but it's just because they take so much more effort to do. But I find them all the more impressive because of it.
Well, that about wraps it up. I would like to thank my two extremely hard-working partners, Cole Mueller and Rowan Platt, and thank you to Abby for letting us interview you and bring something special to this project. Thank you for watching.